Alright. Where are we going, Des? A tall, broad-shouldered man asked. He walked into a clearing with a slender, curly-haired woman. He was wearing a t-shirt and blue jeans. She, a pure white toga. The clearing was barren. It looked like life was drained from the clearing itself. The trees, mainly oak and elm, curved back their trunks away from the clearing. When the woman did not respond immediately, the man stopped and turned to face her. She was not looking ahead, but at the wait, hold on. But at the wait. Ooh, I screwed up somewhere. Hee hee. But at the clear sky high above them. Wow, this really... I hate speech to text. Did you hear me, Des? The man asked sternly. He spoke with the authority of one that was not accustomed to being ignored. She looked him in the eye. He, with eyes that looked like iron, she eyes of jade. The tide has changed, the woman said enigmatically, word I can't pronounce. She spoke more to herself than to him. What? Are you ignorant of the events that have taken place this century? No. If you are speaking of this monstrosity, he motioned to the ground they now stood on. This occurred in the century prior. It is more than that, Quam, and you know it. Something is amiss. Des, you may be my goddess, but lose the riddles. Say whatever it is you're saying in plain English. It was not a request, but a demand. This is something Quam has said to the deity countless times before. The goddess seemed unperturbed by his tone. It is time for you or your abilities. Wait. This is why I have the notebook right in front of me. Because something is wrong here. See, yeah, exactly. It is time for you to part from your abilities, Quam. There was a harsh coldness to her tone. Quam flinched like her words had been a slap. You know you can't strip me of my powers. And you know there are other means to do that. So you plan on killing me. For what aims? That is no concern of yours, she snapped. Her normal flawless face was contorted with disgust and fury. Quam took a step away from her and crossed his muscular arms over his chest. He had a bracer on each wrist. It was the only armor visible on his body. Each bracer uniquely constructed from a precious material. Sapphire on his left wrist and ivory on his right. If one were to look closely at them, they would see a series of squares, rectangles, and ovals carved into them. He wore a sheathed, long broadsword on his left hip. He eyed the deity with suspicion. So, he declared accusingly, "You do plan on killing me." He drew his sword from its sheath. See, it's scabbard, and they put catbird. The blade glimmered red across the green and purple hue from the twin suns that soared high in the heavens above them. Are you going to attempt it, or? A soft gust of wind blew through the clearing. Cromwell had a disgusted look on his face. Goblins! Do I look like one whom would use goblins to accomplish what I want? You would use anything or anyone, he emphasized on the word, to do your bidding. Death smirked. You bitch! You betrayed me! No, the deity's face contorted with anger. Your own weakness has betrayed you. Weakness? Weakness! Ha! I'll show you weakness. Creatures! Death bellowed venomously. Gum! She turned her attention back to Quam. He was in mid-swing. I think not. She pointed at her with his. She pointed at him with her right hand. You dare strike me? He attempted to move but couldn't. The bushes at the base of the trees came alive with motion. 3 different types of monsters forced their way into the clearing. Your aura, oddness. A short puke-green monster uttered, bowing. You called for us? Yes, dispose of this man, Death declared without waiting for a response. She disappeared with a bright flash of light. Hold on, let me get... Purple-cloaked woman stood motionless in the center of a dense forest. She sniffed the air, then grimaced. Too many goblins gathered together, she stated as though there was someone else with her. Hobgoblins as well. It is not the year for them to mate. She held out her red-brown tinted right hand. It looked like she was holding something, but her hand was empty. Amachio, she commanded. She opened her hand and held it with her palm facing the heavens. No sooner than she did this, a watery orb materialized and floated a foot off her hand. Blurred image formed in the orb. She stared at them intently. Are ready? The orb split in two. She shook her head in disbelief. Her long wavy blonde hair was tossed back and forth with the shake. The new orb was dull-looking and gray. How did she learn of this? Third orb appeared above the other two. It glowed with the dim light of 5 different colored fires. She seemed to understand what this new orb was showing, for she nodded. How did she learn where he was today? The third orb split in two. The new one showed 5 candles on a piece of wood. Curses, she yelled. The orbs dissolved into nothingness. The trees rustled around her soothingly. It is not yet time for him to return. He has not healed from the wounds caused by his father's passing. A call sounded behind her. She turned towards the sound. Perched in a tree not far from where she stood was a pair of ravens. She frowned. The ravens called again. Tell your master to stay clear of my concerns, she declared a warning. They called again but did not budge. Fine, you meddlesome pigeons. You asked for this. Refiber Ishol. The birds disappeared with an echoing pop. Nito will have to do without his precious spies for a century or two. An arrow soared through the air towards her. She snatched it out of the air and looked at it. The arrow was finely crafted with goose feathers protruding from the staff. It was impossible to tell where the feathers began. This was an elven-made arrow about as thick as her little finger. It had 5 red rings behind the ever-sharp point, with a blue ring following the first color. This only meant one thing, trouble. She didn't have enough to worry about at the moment. The arrow vanished, and she looked far into the forest in front of her. Without uttering a single word, she clapped her hands once, then vanished herself. An arrow flew past Dessa's face. Her nose would have been skewered if she was a fraction of an inch closer to Quam. Wait a second. Oh. I kind of messed up here, but I'll fix it. Her nose would have been skewered if she was a fraction of an inch closer to Quam. She glared at her former guardian with a knowing look in her eyes. It seems as though aid is coming for you, Quam, she spat. Elven-made arrow, 5 purple rings on the shaft. She released the spell that she had used against him. You won't be leaving here alive then, Quam said with a smirk. He touched an oval on East's bracelet. The spots he touched emitted a soft glow, the color of the bracelet. You know who's coming. I would love to see Hades' face when you come before her. There was a blinding flash of light. Des was gone. You coward! Quam's bracelet started to expand up his forearms. There was a second flash of light. A horde of monsters had filled the clearing. He was aghast at what he saw. The new monsters were more hideous than the goblins, the hobgoblins, and the giants she had brought to destroy him. They looked like tigers who could walk upright. You are under arrest, Guardian, the tiger man closest to him growled with authority. I think not, Quam spat defiantly. The tiger man let out a growl-like laugh. I fear no creature. Goblins and purple-skinned hobgoblins fled the clearing. Now look what you did, Quam continued. You chased away my exercise for the morning. His arms were now covered by the bracelets, and the latter was spreading across his shoulders. The giants eyed the fleeing creatures wistfully. They couldn't decide whether to stay or flee. They stood there for a moment, then tromped back through the forest they came out of. Popcorn. Now it is just us and you, a different tiger man said. Regatons, a female voice bellowed from the forest line. I thought I told you not to let me see you or any of your kin in my forest. We listen to naught but the gods, a third monster declared with a growl. You will heed me. The woman in the purple cloak stepped out of the forest shadows. She had her face hidden beneath the hood. You have a desire to enter the underworld, the first Regaton growled. We will aid you in getting there. Foolish outcasts, you fail to heed whom you speak to. The monster went to voice a return. Hold your tongue. It attempted to speak again. Its jaws moved, but no sound came out. The others of its kind growled and hissed, in both outrage and fear. The woman turned her hooded head towards Quam. You must leave this realm, she proclaimed. Quam's expression was of one who had just been struck unexpectedly. Return to the Earth realm until I have straightened this situation out. No, Quam retorted. I will avenge myself. She laughed. It was a melodic laugh that threatened wrath. Shall I leave you to these ant creatures? She sighed. Very well, Quam. I will persuade Hades to allow me to visit you in the underworld. The Guardian flinched, looking uncertain. The monsters wore hungry looks on their striped furry faces. Very well, he conceded. He glared at the woman. I know who you are, she nodded. And I know you know who I am. Begone, she roared, pointed at him. He vanished instantly. The monsters glared at her agape. You seem to have underestimated some important items, she continued. She turned to face the Regatons. Dad should have warned you that I might show. Do you have any fathom of whom it is I am? There was a threatening malice in her tone. You are a foolish wench, one shouted from the rear of the horde, who does not wish to exist. They circled her. The woman stood motionless as they circled her, tossing taunts and jeers in her direction. The trees around the clearing rustled their... Wait, hold on. She began to laugh. It was not the light, melodic laughter as before. This laugh was challenging. The trees around the clearing rustled the branches. It was the whisper that the leaves make when a breeze brushes them against each other. They seemed to be making jest of their own. There was no wind, though. Enough, the woman declared. The trees ceased moving. The time for jests have ended. She brought her hands to her hood. The time has come to send your goddess a message. And what shall that be, guardian? Des demanded, materializing a pace before the cloaked woman. I know who you are. Desist your foolish notion, deity. The woman threw back her hood. The entire clearing was blanketed in darkness. It was like the twin suns had lost the ability to shed their light. Multiple screeching whistles filled the clearing. They were followed by roars of agony. The impenetrable darkness was lifted as quick as it formed. The Regatons laid in pieces throughout the clearing. Des had a vertical gash on her left cheek. The most disturbing sight was that the mysterious woman was gone. A golden lightning bolt streaked through the heavens and crashed where the woman had just stood. A gigantic toga-clad man materialized where the lightning struck. Father, Des said apologetically. I know, daughter, the god declared. She has come back out into the open. What does this mean? It is time to prepare. Go. Complete the task I have set before you. The lad? I lack your understanding, Father. What is so important about him? I have watched him as you instructed. He has not a single ability. The god was upon her in a fraction of a second. He backhanded her with one of his shield-side hands. Des was thrown to the ground by his strength. Fool! The god bellowed. The ground shook with his fury. She has trained him. She knows how to conceal anything from us deities. His abilities have been cloaked since birth. Remember the events of 4 centuries ago. He remembers naught of this realm. She climbed to her feet. The entire right side of her face was now a bloody mess. Yes, Father. Go to Deshu. Clean yourself up, then finish your task. If you fail me, daughter or not, I will be the cause of your destruction. He left with another golden lightning bolt. There was a blinding flash of light and Des was gone. The purple-cloaked woman rematerialized a few paces from the forest line. We'll have to see about this impotent deity, she declared. I know. I always know. She turned and entered the forest. She pointed at the clearing before disappearing into the shadows. The entire clearing erupted in gale force winds. So what do you think so far? Yeah, give me a second. I need a drink. See, this is the shitty first draft. This isn't the shitty rough draft. This is the shitty first draft. Yeah. I do have it online, posted somewhere. If I can remember the bloody website. I wonder if I should post this on YouTube. Babel, the only known human settlement, ruled by the just and wise Duke Noah. A city older than any other known settlement of any race. Babel was the only city that survived the last great war. Noah, ruler of the great city for a millennia, was birthed ages after the great war. He knew not of what enticed the war, but he knew the outcome. Every being, creature, and monster had it embedded into their souls. The 4 great cities were destroyed, and the world's border was sealed by its inhabitants. The deities had gone into hiding, only to return with the start of the next age. Noah paced the width of the hall. This hall was makeshift and shabbier than the one he was used to. He'd been at this since dawn. Why must this happen now, the Duke thought. Monsters and creatures attacking travelers. Traders and hunters refuse to depart from behind my walls. Where are the gods? Where are their guardians? They are bound to prevent these things. The front doors opened, and Noah just reached the throne that had been empty since he became Duke. He turned to see who had disturbed him. It was one of his royal guards. Knights, healers, and magic users who were destined to wear crimson with his emblem embedded on the back of their armor and robes. A lightning-struck tower. A curse placed on the nation he had resided in prior to his coming to this world. The curse was placed the sunrise after his departure. Sire, a robed magic user announced. This one was a female. She brought a fist to her heart and bowed. Word has been sent from the temples. The oracles are coming. Which temple, Chavolia? Noah responded. He went and sat on the throne meant for him. Babel has hundreds of temples. All of them, sire. For many moons the gods have been silent. Now each temple stirs. Why have I not been informed sooner? Word has just reached this palace. There was contempt in her last word. She too missed the old grand palace. This is a bad omen, sire. I fear Babel will be placed in great peril. No monster will dare to lash at this great city as long as I rule it, Chavolia. This city has stood since long before the Great War. It will not fall now. Yes, sire. Go, wait for the oracles. Bring them to me upon their arrival. The magic user put her fist to her heart and bowed. As you wish, sire. She turned to leave. And Chavola, she halted. Summon Zozu for me. She left the hall, closing the door behind her. Noah stood and began to pace again. Trouble is brewing, the Duke thought. Pandemonium in the temples, monsters striking travelers in the forest. What news will the oracles bring? Lost in thought, the Duke paced. He knew not how long he was at this when Zozu entered the great hall. Sire, the black-robed magic user said. He placed his fist to his heart and bowed. You have summoned me? Zozu was the Archmage of Babel. His black robe signified his rank. The crimson lightning-struck tower insignia showed all that he was Noah's Archmage, chosen by the Duke to lead the army's magic users in battle. Noah came to a halt in front of his throne and turned to face the Archmage. His wizened face was lined with worry. Ah, Zozu, the oracles will be here shortly. I desire you to be present when they call. Yes, sire. The Duke sat as Zozu made his way across the vast hall. Before the Archmage reached the throne, Chavolia entered the hall. She placed her fist over her heart and bowed. Sire, the oracles have arrived. What is their mood? Noah asked. Excuse me, sire? What kind of emotions do they show? They are all frightened and excited. Why does this concern you, my lord? I have my reasons. The magic user had no right to ask such a question. She knew this. Chavolia has proved her loyalty to the Duke numerous times and learned to read the meanings of certain questions he asked. Please send them in. He turned his gaze to the Archmage as she exited the room. Do you think this will bode well or ill? I do not know, my lord, the Archmage responded. He walked up the 3 steps and went to stand at Noah's right. The gods have been silent for too long. Only their oracles know the answers to your question. The hall's massive twin oak doors opened and the oracles began to pour in, each wearing a toga of the color of their respective deity. Chavolia entered at their rear. She closed the doors and stood in front of them. Her fists were clenched. She did not trust the oracles. Noah nodded to her as she bowed with her right fist over her heart. She did not, however, leave the great hall. The oracles made their way along the flawless ruby-colored rug to the base of the stairs. They nodded their heads respectively. Noah saw a movement on the other side of the room. The right main door was closing, and he saw fiery red hair. He knew exactly who it was. He watched her bow the same way as the magic user next to her did. She was young, wearing the rust brown that signified her as a servant. Noah's servants wore tunics. This girl wore a robe. The Duke knew that he would find what he would find if she would turn around. The lightning-struck tower. This servant girl was given her robe by the Duke himself after she alerted his guard of an assassin who had snuck into the old palace. Noah heard Zazu scoff next to him. He glared at the Archmage to silence him. He will never accept what she did for me, the Duke thought. Envy will bring about the fall of any man. Noah turned his gaze to the hundreds of oracles that filled the hall. What do the gods say, oracles? A young woman with hair like the servant girl stepped forward. She wore a rainbow-colored toga. Sire, she spoke with a clear, demanding voice. Ciri says that he is coming. Is that all the goddess of the rainbow has to say? He is coming? No, my lord. She cleared her throat. The other oracles backed away wearily. This let the Duke know the omens were ill. Ciri's oracle was terrified. Tell me what your goddess proclaims. Yes, my lord. He will bring bloodshed and strife. Where he goes, death will follow. Who is this he? The Duke asked the question with annoyment. I have not the time to deal with the gods' riddles. Either tell me forthright, or be gone from my sight. The oracle's eyes changed from hazel to a swirling rainbow. Noah heard his archmage utter a horrified gasp. Duke of Babel, the oracle proclaimed. The voice that poured forth from her mouth was not of the oracle, but of the goddess Ciri herself. Almost 12 and a half scores of years ago, you presented your hair. I do not doubt there is a Babylonian who could forget that day. Those who were present for it, that is. The time of your hair's return draws nigh. He will bring bloodshed and war, pain and suffering. How will this transpire? Noah remained calm. A guardian will fall, another will be created. The former will strike out against the latter. And my hair is involved in this? Correct. Is there more? Always. The hair will be in the midst of this. His hand will be forced by the fallen guardian. When will this transpire? The oracle collapsed. The rest of the oracle stared at her horror-struck. No deity has used an oracle like this in ages. It was an ill omen in itself. Do you have any more to add? Noah demanded. The oracles remained silent. Good. Leave my sight. The speakers of the gods rushed, with plenty of bumping and shoving in the process, out of the hall. They left Ciri's oracle behind. Zazu, Chavolia, the Duke declared. Carry, he emphasized on the word, the oracle back to Ciri's temple. I do not wish to be disturbed till sundown. The servant girl turned to leave. You, lass, will remain. I require a talk. TW? What does TW mean? I am almost done with this chapter. Then, we're going to play some Tales of Symphonia. Well, hi kitty, 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 kitty. The two magic users did as Noah commanded. The servant girl made her way toward him. She placed her right fist on her heart and bowed. The Earth realm, densely populated with humans, believed by its inhabitants to be the only inhabited world and the only dimension. The further they progress with technology, the more they blind themselves from the truth. The ancient cultures and beliefs were more knowledgeable than modern culture is. There are, however, a select few persons who know the truth, though they will not speak freely about it, not even to those who know this secret when in the Earth realm. The ethers between the two realms are crossed thousands of times daily without detection. There is a teenage boy in the Earth realm who has trekked across the ethers on his own. He has forgotten how this is done. The traumas caused by life on Earth has caused this. Society forms its people just like the people create the society. It is an endless cycle that brings about its own destruction. The boy lived on the western side of the planet in a country called the United States of America. Okay, I'm going to skip that next sentence. A city where the people do their best to survive with what the gods and their corrupt government bestowed upon them. The boy's name is Bowie. Yeah, I'm skipping that sentence. Bowie, a tall, wavy-haired woman shouted from the kitchen, "Bowie, it's time for school." He opened his eyes and stretched out on the bottom bunk of his futon bunk bed and yawned. He sat up and rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "I'm up, Mom," he responded loud enough for her to hear. His room was similar to many teenagers who attended high school. Stereo and television sitting side by side on the top row of a metal shelf. A VCR and the newest video game system on the lower shelf. That's to show you how long ago this thing actually takes place. There was a brown dresser in the corner by the closet and an antique ivory cabinet blocking the windows near his bed. He had 4 kitchen chairs of various styles lined up in front of the television. The one closest to the cabinet had a large glass aquarium resting on the seat. It was filled with toilet paper rolls and cardboard. They were chewed into bedding by the 3 flawless white mice that lived in it. Why the bloody hell is this messing up like that? He crossed the room and quickly got dressed. He left his bedroom and entered the kitchen. "What would you like for breakfast?" his mother asked as he entered the kitchen. He stopped and stared at her suspiciously. His mother had not asked him this since before his father died, 4 years prior. There was a minute orb of light hovering over his mother's right shoulder. He could not see it, though. "What?" he said. He wanted to make sure that he heard her right. "What would you like for breakfast?" his mother repeated, pronouncing each word perfectly. "Are you okay?" He thought she was up to something. "I am well." Now he knew something was amiss. His mother wouldn't have responded the way she did. "She's gonna send me away again," he thought to himself. "Think fast, Bowie. Where can you run away to?" "Do not fret, Bowie," his mother said. She knew what he was thinking. "I am not sending you away again." Bowie stared at her with disbelief. He knew there was definitely something wrong here. Instinct told him to get out of the house fast. "I'll just get something on the way," he responded, then turned and headed towards the bathroom. "Are you sure?" He didn't stop. He nodded and entered the bathroom. He quickly brushed his teeth and washed his face. "I put some money on your bed," his mother said the moment he exited the room. "Run," A voice rung in his head. Thanks, he responded. He didn't look at his mother as he said this. The miniature orb above his mother's shoulders flashed the moment he turned to enter his room. He stopped suddenly. Had he seen the flash? He shook his head, then crossed the threshold into the room. The first thing he did was grab his book bag and his military-issued jacket. He had no desire to enter the military, but he didn't dislike the chemical suit top. He put on the jacket, then slid his arm through one of the straps of his book bag, sliding it onto his left shoulder. He walked over to his bed and stopped when he saw the money. It was not the amount of money he expected, $10 or $20 at most. There were two small bundles stacked on top of each other. He picked up the top one. It was a bundle of crisp, like new $10 bills. The strip of paper holding it together said there was 100 in each bundle. This ain't right, he thought. I think Mom's gone off the deep end. Can't bring this much money to school. They'd kill me for it. Hell, this is too much money. He reached down and took the second bundle. This one was 20s. These were in the same condition as the 10s. The strip of paper told him that it had the same number of bills as the 10s. He turned and headed back into the kitchen. His mother hadn't moved the entire time. He thought this was strange. He held out the money. This is too much, Mom, he declared. She stared into his eyes and smiled. I can't take it. Here. She didn't budge. It's yours, she said, still smiling it. Consider it your new allowance. $3 grand? He wondered how she got the money. Mom, I can't walk around with $3 grand in my pocket. I'd get robbed, or worse, killed. No, you won't, she responded, smiling still. No one will even know you have it. Yeah, right, he said sardonically. His mother ignored it. Bye. She watched him head for the front door, smiling. He opened the door and left, closing it softly behind him. Get out of me! His mother demanded the moment Bowie was gone. You Dedes love messing with people. The orb moved in front of her, then flashed. The orb was gone, only to be replaced by Des. She wore a victorious smile on her face. You did well, nonetheless, the goddess said. He is the age to cross the ethers. Ha! Bowie's mother said bitterly. He's not ready. Oh, I think he is. He will make a perfect guardian. No, I forbid it. Your kind will not do what you did to Bobby and me. Bobby actually died doing it. She lifted her shirt and pointed at a long, thick scar above her right hip. I will not let you take him. He will not be part of your games. You have no choice in the matter, Jan. The oaths of your ancestors make it so. Bowie's not ready. She sat down in the kitchen table. She looked haggard. Bobby's death did something to him. He hasn't been the same since. I don't think he'd survive the ethers. He has already crossed the ethers, Bowie's mother looked at Des, not unlike she had been struck in the face. Your expression tells me you had this knowledge already. Jan stood and began to pace anxiously. Des watched her intently. Do you know what your son was doing in the realm sacred? Des asked the third time Jan passed her. I do. Jan did not look at the goddess. She continued the pace. Eden had kept tabs on him. The goddess laughed. It was Benedict. This caused Jan to stop and face her. She did much more than that. Jan looked at her questioningly. Eden was training him. Jan blanched. I see by your action you were unaware of this. Your son is quite powerful, though you did not teach him what he should have been taught. You told him that it was just a dream. He was too young to understand. He is no longer. You gave him too much money, Jan said, changing the subject. So? He is able to fend for himself. She turned to look into Bowie's room. He will summon me tonight. I will come and show him the world he's destined to enter. No. This ends with his parents. Death spun to face her. The goddess's anger radiated from her every orifice. Bowie's mother steeled herself. Your bloodline will continue to cross the ethers until it produces a changer. Not even the creator herself knows when that will be. Apple Ponto Demonez, Jan commanded enraged. Death let out a growl as the spell forced her from the apartment. Bowie was sitting inside the McDonald's two streets from his school. He had already finished eating breakfast. He sat there lost in thought, with the wrapper-covered tray still in front of him. Something's very wrong, he thought. I don't know what it is yet, but I will find out. Mom's never acted like that before. That flash of light was stranger still. It was like she took a picture of me, but she didn't have a camera with her. I'm gonna have to ask her about it when I get home. He looked at his watch. It was 5 minutes to 8. Oh shit, I'm gonna be late. He dumped his tray and placed it on top of the garbage can and walked out at a brisk pace. He covered the distance to the school quickly. Alright, so that's the prologue.